All right, hey guys. So, wanted to go over how to use the fate chips in Deadlands. It's a little wonky with the Deadlands extension, um, so it doesn't quite work. It's kind of frustrating that things don't always work consistently from one to another setting, um, but it is what it is. Anyway, so we're going to talk about what these fate chips are, right? And if you don't know what these fate chips do, you can easily look them up by going to the library and the Deadlands Player's Guide, and then you can scan through the list until you find them. Or the other thing you can do is go down to the search window and type in fate, and of course now you have your fate chips. Um, if this is for whatever reason something you have to look up a lot, you can add it to your hotkeys, and you can do that by clicking on the little dragon logo, and then you can just drag it down here, and now you'll see fate chips is under 10. And you can access that by either clicking on it, right, or you can press F10 on the keyboard and it'll bring it up. So what are the different chips and what do they do? A white chip acts just like a normal Benny. A red chip um, lets you roll a d6 and add it to your current total, and the dice can ace as usual. Nice thing to note is this negates a critical failure from rolling a 1 on your skill die, should that be an issue. So those of you who are Fate or Arcane based type characters, that might be a good way to get out of it. Downside is every time you use a red chip, I get to add a Fate chip to my pool. If you use a blue chip, um, it works just like a red one, only I don't get to use, I don't get to pull from the bag and add to my pile. And then, of course, if you have a legendary chip, that's a d6 plus 2, and it has some additional benefits to it as well. So, um, and of course, you can go in and you can look up those rules on your own for more details, but that's the gist of it. So, in this case, Wade um, McCullen is in a shootout with a Glom, and he's going to double tap it. And um, he got a hit with a raise, which is great, but that's not what I want for explanation purposes. There we go. So here you can see Wade McCullen shooting, double tap +1 with his thing. Trait roll was a natural 1, so that might be important if he were faith-based or arcane-based. That could be a good reason to use one of these red chips. The one thing I forgot to mention about these fate chips is they can all be downgraded to a white chip. Just a simple reroll. However, in this case, Wade is really close to getting a raise, and so he wants to get a raise. So he's going to use a red chip. And you can just click and drag it, or you can right mouse click, and you can see you can use it to soak, remove a shaken, or just use a fate chip. So I actually find it's easier to just click and drag. In this case, Wade McCullen is using a red fate chip. Because it's red, I get a free fate chip out of it, so I just click and award myself a random one, and it says I've drawn a white chip from the bag. So how do you re-roll? How do you add 6 to this, or how do you add a d6 to this total of 6, right? There's not a way to really do it. So what you have to do is you have to just take your d6 and you flip it in your channel or your chat box, and of course the 6 exploded to give me 10. So what I have to do from my side is now I have to go into the combat tracker and I have to change the 6 to a 16. And now suddenly you have your hit with a raise. You make your attack roll. So you got a 4 and a 1 and a 5, right? 4, 1, 5 plus 2 is 12 because you double tapped it. So in this case, he is shaken, and that is that. So that's basically how you would use the fate chips. Again, if you were using the legendary chip, you would do the same deal, right? I'm using the legendary chip, only now when you roll, you get a +2. So you would type +2, or you can also use the mouse and I thought you could, yeah. So you can use the mouse and wheel up and down for your modifiers if you've got a mouse wheel kind of deal. Anyway, so now I've got a +2, right? And now I roll my dice, and there's a 5, so 7. And then, of course, I would add the 7 to the combat tracker for whatever it was before, right? So 6 plus 7 is 13, and I would apply, and that would be another hit and a raise. So that's that. So short one, and I'll talk more about the hotbar here in the next video.